Hey guys, just thought during my little break here that I'd start on my story time on how my husband and I met, how we went through friendship, how we went through relationship, to our ups and downs, to marriage, to our daughter, and 4 years later of marriage, 6 years later of dating, 8 years later of friendship. So yeah, it's a lot to talk about. So okay, well, let's start with how we met. My husband and I met in 2010. Was it 2000? Yes, it was 2010. It's been so long ago through everything we've been through, so excuse me if I don't get it correctly. But since then, I met him through his step uncle, who was also good friends with my god sister, and we just happened to be swimming a lot right after we graduated from high school. And my god sister's friend, which is my husband's step uncle, was like, well, y'all can come over here to my pool. I got a pool at the house. I also had a pool at the condos where I lived. So she was like, okay, well, you know, he said we can come over there and go swimming so we don't have to swim with everybody at the complex or whatever, because we were kind of being stalked by this guy and his son, and that's a whole nother situation. I can probably talk about that as well, but I'm not going to get into details on that one. So we went over to my husband's step uncle house, and my husband happened to be down from South Carolina at the time and staying with his dad and stepmom. So we went over, and they lived right across the street from his step uncle. So me, his step uncle, and my god sister, like, we're at the pool. I'm sitting on the side with my feet in the water. My god sister is in the pool, and then his step uncle is like sitting in a chair outside of the pool. We're just chilling and talking, and so we were at the pool, we were talking, we were chilling, we were hanging, the usual, just got out of high school, so on and so forth. Actually, this was probably like a year or so after that, because my husband and I are almost 7 years apart, and yes, I am older than him. So this is the funny part about the story. Okay, so as we were at the pool chilling and everything at his step uncle's house, my husband and their cousin pops up to the pool area where we were. And all I know was they came through the house because we were in the pool in the back. And my husband was like, ooh, who is that? And, you know, I myself had got out of a relationship. So I wasn't like really looking for anybody. I wasn't expecting to, you know, have anybody hitting on me, no, nothing, you know, not saying I wasn't, you know, like surprised that somebody would try to holler at me because, you know, of my size or anything. I'm bodacious, big and bodacious. But anyway, so his step uncle was like, Isha, my nephew's 18, he want to talk to you. And I'm like, usually when somebody is grown, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't right off the bat, especially guys, right off the bat, don't say something about their age. Am I right or am I wrong? Okay, so I'm like, and? And he was like, don't be like that. So I'm like, not saying it like that or anything, but why me? My god sister right there, but she already, you know, was doing her thing in her relationship or whatever. And I'm like, okay, hey nephew, how you doing or whatever. He was like, what's up? And then he was like, oh, we gonna go swimming too. Mind you, he had all of his clothes on, no swimming clothes, no nothing. He had on pants and a t-shirt. As I remember, he took the t-shirt off and jumped into the pool with his pants and stuff on. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and the water was cold. It was like nighttime and the water was cold. So, like, he jumps in to, you know, impress us and all this. And I'm like, oh, God, not one of these. So, from there, like, the next day, or was it later on that night? I can't remember, guys. It's been some years now. This is like 8 years ago. So, we go inside and we're sitting on the couch and we're chilling and everything. And my husband sings. So do I. So, like, later on, like I said, we're sitting on the couch. He left to go get on like dry clothes and then came back because we were there. And so his step uncle was like, oh yeah, my nephew sang too, Isha. And I'm like, okay, sing for me. You know, so he was like, of course, shy to sing. And he was like, you sang something. So I sung a little skit. I'm trying to remember the song. I know it was one of, was it Boys to Men? One of them songs, whatever. So I sung something for him and he was like, damn. So he popped up and started singing a song. Mind you, again, I still have to remember what song it was. But it was like, okay, bam, got it out there. And so we just started hanging out at the step uncle house, you know, from then. It wasn't like, oh, I got me a new boo or nothing like that. Mind you guys, he was 16. Yes. So it took a couple weeks later. He went back up to South Carolina. I'm still, till this day, you guys, I'm still trying to find out how my husband got my phone number because I did not give it to him. I don't know if my god sister called his step uncle from my phone before, because she has done that. But somehow my husband got my number and called me when he got back to South Carolina from his sister's phone. And I'm like, who is this? And he's like, it's T. And I'm like, T, who is T? And he was like, nephew. And I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? You know, he's like, I was just calling, you know, hitting you up, checking on you or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, who number you calling from? I'm calling you from my sister's phone. I'm like, oh my God, really? And he was like, yeah, but I'll holler back at you or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So it goes from there, and he ended up, like, he forced to be back down in Florida, where I'm from. I'm sorry. So he came back and he got in contact with me, and, you know, of course, with the age difference, because we hung out sometimes at the movies, or we all went to the mall and chilled or whatever, you know, back at the pool, whatnot. So, his dad, my father-in-law, rest in peace. When I pulled up to the house one day, he came out to my truck that I was driving. He was like, you know, he's 16, right? I say, trust me, I do know that there's nothing going on. I promise you that. I was like, I'm not going to jail for nobody's child. I say, we're just friends, nothing more, you know, just cooling it. We no kissing, no none of that. So me and dad been cool ever since. You know, that's my pops-in-law. Love him to death. Rest in peace, pops. We lost him 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years, February 8th. But from there on, I ended up in another relationship, and my husband ended up in a relationship, or should I call it puppy love or whatever. Joke. Okay, whatever. Skip all that. But after I broke off in an engagement, you know, something that I felt that wasn't working too well for us. You know, we were two different places, two different worlds, you know, so I kind of like broke it off, and somehow my husband just kept popping up. And he made sure that he kept in contact with me until he was like 18, you guys. No kidding. Love him to death. And so after I broke off my engagement, like, we hung out more, and it was kind of like an emotional thing going on with me because I lost 4 family members back to back within like 2 months. And my husband was there. We hadn't became boyfriend and girlfriend, but he was like my shoulder to cry on. He was there. He was like, are you okay? He was like, do I need to come and be with you and just comfort you? And I was like, sure, because of course I broke off my engagement. I had my family there, but it's always different when it's someone else. So it was like, sure. So we were together, and he came to the house and like just cradled me, and he's like, babe, it's gonna be all right. And boom, there it was. It happened from there. April 28th. Ooh. April 28th was the night that it was just like emotions, and somehow it turned into right. Yes. So from there, we ended up in our relationship by May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Our original date that we were going to try to get married on, but due to a beautiful baby girl, I love you, baby, rest in peace, that's gonna be part of the story. We ended up getting married on March 10th, 2013. So, through everything, like, I was this thick, like, when I call myself fat, people like, you are not fat. Look at this person and look at you. That's fat. You're not fat. And I'm like, okay, well, I call myself fat, and it doesn't bother me. I'm bodacious, I'm fat, huge, whatever, but I'm beautiful with it, baby. I carry it. I almost died not knowing that I was a diabetic, and that's where I gained all of my bodacious from, and I just learned to deal with it, accept it, and just battle what I'm dealing with. So, whatever. But when I say that it was like love at first sight for my husband, because at that moment I think I was not bitter, but just, breaking off a 3-year relationship with somebody prior. I wasn't really looking for anybody, but, I can say my husband lifted me up, and he was like, I got to say, you are sexy. You are just like, you're beautiful. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Still to this day, 8 years later, he's still, babe, you're like the most beautiful woman in the world. He was like, he tells me almost every day, gosh, you got a sexy body. You are so beautiful. And I just be like, thank you, babe. So, when you talk about it, just hearing it to yourself when you're saying that this is what this person thinks of, this is how this person even years later thinks of you and still looks at you. It's like, wow, he cherishes me. You know what I mean? So, yes, I can say that about my husband. Every relationship has their ups and downs. When you sometimes get a person that it seems like they're somebody else's trash, and you clean them up, and you look so happy, and relationship is so beautiful. You have those bitter outside people that's like, oh, well, he look good now, so now you want to jump in, or come in, or, oh, hey, I ain't see you in a long time, and what's your number, and all this and that. So yes, we've had those type of problems. We had those type of situations. And like I said, I've never had a problem with getting with anybody or getting somebody. So yes, it has came my way as well. But, you know, the type of woman that I am and the type of woman that my mother raised, I am very loyal, very faithful. So when it came to other guys or it came to exes or, you know, whatever, it's like, listen, I'm married, I'm straight, I don't want, you know, no problems, none of that. When it comes to guys, sometimes they either are naive or they don't want to, you know, feel like some girls are trying to start drama. That's my husband. And, you know, I have to tell him all the time, listen, she might be acting friendly. She might not even be interested in you. Sometimes these females do stuff like that to make other females mad. I know a lot of you females can relate to me when I say that. That's just like with guys. Some guys don't be interested in the girl, but because they see them with their dude, especially if it's an ex, they be like, oh, I can have her, you know, and all this and that. No, that's not how that works. So I'm going to let you know that, no, I'm in a relationship. You had your chance. There is no going backwards. I don't go backwards. So once you had your chance to be in a relationship with me and it didn't work and we've left our separate ways, that's it. We can be cool. But now that I'm in a relationship, just a relationship, now that I'm married, like, I don't have too much to say to you. I can say, hey, bye, you know, how you doing? Hope all is well with you and your family. Like, that's about it. Hanging out and talking on the phone. And, you know, like, I'm in a relationship, so there's no need for us to do that anymore. Like, come on. So that was, you know, the little problems that we had, you know, where it's like, okay, well, she's just a friend. Oh, that's my homegirl. Okay, I can have friends and homeboys too, and you would not like it. So don't do that. I've always stated to my husband, listen, if you feel like you're still young, you want to play, you know, you want to experience like these different females and stuff like that, then you do that. I don't get in relationships like that. But, you know, he was like, well, you know, I do say, hey, socialize, whatever, but I only want you. Okay, saying something and still doing another thing, that's not really saying that's, you know, showing that that's exactly what you want and all you want. So, you know, of course, those were little problems that we had. It's like, you're telling me this, but your actions is, you know, paying attention to others that shouldn't be getting that attention. So we've grown past all of that, you know. That was relationship wise. That was before we got married. And once we got to, you know, that agreement that, listen, if no friends are over here on my side, no friends should be over there on your side, to keep problems down, because there will be a problem. So, became the year of 2013. It started off with a boom. Found out my little cousin was murdered at 2 years old. I kind of took that very hard because I've always raised other people's children all of my life. And I struggle with being able to carry my own. So came to 2013 in January. I got home from work. My mom calls me. She's like, you know, this and that happened, so on and so forth. And, you know, I break down crying, go back to work the next day. I'm crying. You know, next thing I know, a couple days later, after leaving a comedy club with my brother, my husband, sister-in-law, and my sister, paining and cramping. I'm vomiting and, you know, like 3 days straight, my husband's like, you need to go to the hospital. Everything is go to the hospital. Listen, I don't want to go to the hospital. But on that third day, I had no choice but to go to the hospital, because we ended up in Walmart. I was laying in the bed before we got to Walmart. I'm like, I want some. And I started crying, not knowing. I started crying. And I'm like, my husband's like, what's wrong with you? Like, I want some pineapple. He's like, you crying because you want some pineapples? He was like, babe, let's go. Get in the car. And that's one thing I say about my husband. If I say I want something, he's going to go and get it. He's going to go and get it. And sometimes it's not a good thing, and I'm glad he's not one of those guys that have like buku money out the butt, because I'd be a spoiled brat if I even talk about something saying that I want it. Come on, let's go get it. Let's go get it. I'm like, babe, no, I was just talking about it. I didn't say I had to necessarily have it. Or he'll just pop up with it, and I'm just like, babe, thank you. I'm not gonna complain. Thank you. But so, let's see. Where did I leave off? Oh, my brain. Okay, so we go to Walmart. I open up the fresh pineapples. For some reason, I'm allergic to fresh pineapples. Next thing I know, I'm eating the pineapples and I'm already feeling, very nauseous. And I'm like, thinking I'm okay. Next thing I know, I'm vomiting all on the people floor and I pee all down my pants. And he's like, that's it. We're going to the hospital. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm like, I'm not going to the hospital with pee all over me. Are you crazy? And he's like, well, we go home, you change your clothes, we go to the hospital. So we did just that. And to find out, as I'm laying in the bed, they did a pee test. They did the IV, thinking I'm dehydrated, which I was. And the nurse comes in to the doctor and whispers something. My husband's on his phone with either my mother-in-law or my grandmother-in-law. I can't remember which one, because we talk to them every day. And the doctor was like, oh, well, we know what's going on with you. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm thinking it's food poison, stomach virus, because since I ate grouper bites at the comedy club a couple days prior, I had been throwing up or vomiting non-stop, like all day, not just morning sickness, all day. He's like, well, you're pregnant. What? I'm like, nah, no way. Mind you, before, my husband and I miscarried in August 11th of 2011. So, therefore, basically, it's like, nah. So he was like, yeah, you got a positive pee test, and we're going to take you upstairs to do an ultrasound. And my husband's like, hold on. What you say was wrong with her? And he's like, she's pregnant. He's like, yes! And I'm like, no. What? No. I was still in shock, I think. So they had to put an oxygen mask on me because my breathing started changing. And, I wanted to be excited, but I thought maybe the nurse was going to come back in and say, oh, sorry, we mixed up the urine test. But they took me upstairs, did the ultrasound. We heard her heartbeat, and I was exactly 2 months pregnant and didn't even know it. I had signs. I thought I was, some women's cycles still come on. So I had a bit of a cycle twice. They did 2 pregnancy tests prior to that, and they came out negative. So that's why I didn't think that I was. So when they told me you're exactly 2 months pregnant, and I was like, no way. So they did the ultrasound. You can hear a heartbeat. I look up at my husband. He got tears coming out of his eyes. I'm like, you're such a punk. But I was excited, and I was, it took me by a storm, because I was like, I'm pregnant, and I passed the 6 to 8 weeks. Like, wow. So I immediately went into brainstorming, like, by May, I'm going to be 5 months, and I am not putting on no wedding dress. So it came to it where we were like, okay, well, we'll pick another date to get married, and, an earlier date. So we ended up choosing March 10th of 2013. So from there, bed rest immediately in my 4th month. High risk pregnancy. The night before I went to the emergency room, which was June 6th, was when my daughter was born. My chest was killing me. It was hurting extremely bad. Like every time I would lay down, my chest felt like it was about to explode. And it felt like I swallowed a bomb, and it would hurt from the front to the back. And I told my husband, finally, after that, I can't take it anymore. Let's go to the hospital. And got to the hospital. My blood pressure was 205, and they were like, we got to admit you immediately. So they admitted me, and my blood pressure kept rising. It got all the way up to 219. And they were like, we're going to have to do emergency C-section. I was only 6 months pregnant. So my daughter was 3 months early. And I'm trying not to cry. She was 3 months early. They had to do emergency C-section so they could save my life. Well, try to save both of our lives. She was 1 pound, 9.75 ounces. So she was very small, very premature. I didn't know if I was going to be able to see her. I didn't know if she, made it, because they were basically telling, my husband and my mom that I was going to die. God is good. I am still here. This will be 4 years later. So the nurse, she was annoying me very much so, because she kept coming in repeating the same thing. Every time she repeat the situation, my mom would start crying more. I'd start crying, and I'm like, this is going to be the end. Like, I'm not going to even be able to meet my daughter. I'm not even going to, whatever. Okay, so my OBG came in, and he was like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and take her so we can try to get you stabilized and, get her, into the NICU. Successfully, the emergency C-section went well. I ended up in ICU, so I didn't get to see her right away. And when I woke up, my dad was there. Of course, my mother was there. My husband was in the NICU with our daughter. My sister, my brothers, sister-in-law, my brother drove him and his wife from Orlando. Congratulations, they're about to have their first baby. And it was beautiful. I was in and out because they had me so doped up on medication. I could only stay awake for a few seconds, and then I'd go back out. I wake back up. So once I got out ICU, I was able to see my daughter. But that day when I came out of ICU, I didn't know that. Sorry. I didn't know that was going to be the last day that I would see my dad. He was in a double homicide the next day. It's still hard. It's still hard. It's a very tough situation. I'm just glad that I was able to see my dad when I woke up. I was glad that my dad was able to meet my daughter. I was glad that I was able to meet my daughter before she passed. So the next day when I was out of ICU, my dad was in a double homicide, and then 2 weeks after his double homicide, my daughter passed. So June is like a really tough month for me every year now. So we celebrated the birth of my daughter June 6th. My dad's passed on June 10th. My daughter passed on June 24th. And I thank God that I have faith in God, and I know He makes no mistakes. And my father is not in pain or doesn't have to worry about anybody anymore. My daughter doesn't have to worry about being in pain or premature problems and, other situations. And it just made me stronger as a human being to show proof that God is real. He is real. And my marriage is stronger. My husband and I relationship is stronger. My husband the next year gets diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and so many people are like, you are a strong woman. I don't know how you do it. You lose your family, your baby. Now your husband is sick and you're still by his side. That is what marriage is supposed to be. You stay by each other's side through rich or for poor, through sickness and in health, to death do you part. And that is what I vow. And every day is a struggle. But my story for everybody is every day isn't easy. Life isn't easy. God never promised us to have an easy life. Stay strong, believe, have faith in God, because if it wasn't for Him, I'd probably be somewhere I shouldn't, flipped out, going crazy, so on and so forth. Even the next year after that, my husband's father passed from cancer, and it's like ongoing thing since 2013. We're now in 2017, and we're gonna make it go up from here. We lose people every day to violence. We lose people to sickness, illnesses. And, we just got to live a more positive life. But to say that I'll be celebrating 4 years of marriage next month. And we're trying and praying for a healthy pregnancy. So hopefully I'll be doing a pregnancy story vlogging soon. Love is real. Love is God, and God is love. Some people give up on love, and when you give up on love, you give up on God. God will never give up on you. He will never give up on us. So you have to keep praying. You have to keep faith, because living in this world is not a joke. So thank you for allowing me to share a bit of my life, my story, my marriage, my emotional roller coaster. Everybody doesn't have a dream life, but it's what we make it and how we live our life. And I thank God every day for waking us up, opening our eyes, and allowing us to appreciate who and what we have in our life while it's there. And I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Isha Styles or Isha Pugh. I am also a stylist, so you will see different videos of me YouTubing tutorials and everything else. So hopefully I'll be back to do a vlog of my pregnancy story. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned.